Welcome to the Hey Mama Homeschool Show, centered around family life and home education. How do you get homeschooling and housework done? How do you help children who are struggling? How do you teach a rebellious child? We have answers. You pour into your family daily, and we are here to help you. Brought to you by the Old Schoolhouse, your trusted partner for over 20 years.
Hello, this is Deborah Wuehler, Senior Editor of the Old Schoolhouse Magazine, and welcome to the Hey Mama Homeschool Show podcast. Today's episode, we are going to be talking about homeschool planning and simplifying that schedule. Today's episode is sponsored by Family Moments, the best family devotional on the internet. Their weekly YouTube videos showcase really cool object lessons to teach the truth about what matters most. Check out FamilyMomentsFun.com. And you can always check out the current issue of the Old Schoolhouse Magazine at tosmagazine.com. And you can also download the free app at homeschoolapp.com. And then you'll always have the current issue of the Old Schoolhouse Magazine on your phone or your smart device, your tablet, whatever you have. You can check out all the resources that the Old Schoolhouse Magazine has available on that free app. And so let's talk about today homeschool planning and simplifying that schedule. I have homeschooled for over 30 years, and I am still loving homeschool schedules. They saved me in the beginning and got me through all the years of homeschooling. Right now, we homeschool a little bit differently because I just have one high schooler left. And so we have a different sort of schedule together. But for most of the years, we followed one checklist schedule for the entire time. Of course, we tweaked it every semester or every quarter, depending on when we changed curriculum and subjects. And but aside from that, we printed them out. The kids had a new schedule every week, checklist that they just checked off as they went along, and it was a huge help for all of us. We all knew where we were going for the day. And when you have lots of littles, it's so helpful to have the older ones who are schooling be able to just go down their checklist instead of, continually coming back to mom and saying, what's next? What's next? And mom at the time is taking care of toddlers and babies and just, living life to the fullest. And so it's so helpful for me to get my kids independent and independently using a checklist to know what's next. Of course, I would set up all the scheduled learning and what the curriculum was, during the summer or during the, when there were breaks and we wanted to change things up, we would redo that schedule. But I wanted to just go over a couple of different people's ideas about scheduling and checklists. And I looked up a few articles in the Old Schoolhouse Magazine from the past just to see what others had to say about homeschool planning and simplifying the schedule. And so the first one would be Malia Russell, and she was one of our authors, repeating authors who always talked about organization. In fact, her column was called The Organized Homeschooler. I always wanted to be her. But Malia Russell always wrote about organization, and she had several children. She was a busy mom of many children, as I was, and so I was always looking at her advice and really benefiting from it. But what she said in this article, let me see where this article is, in our January 2014 issue, and you can find all these back issues free online at tosmagazine.com in the issue library, or you can find it through your app in the issue library. You just put in that search bar, planning, simplify schedule, those kind of words, and you will probably come up with hundreds of articles. And so I found January 2014 from Malia Russell, the organized homeschooler, and this is what she said. She said, when it comes to homeschool organization, the best tool I have in my teacher's toolbox is a written plan for each child and me. And that is important, that you also have a place to write things down. So not only do you want your children to have a checklist of sorts, you also want a place where you can write down all the things that you need to do for the day, the week, the month, and a place to plan your days. The Bible talks about planning our days. And excuse me, I want to bring out a scripture, Psalm 90, verse 12, that says this, teach me to number my days, that I may gain a heart of wisdom. And that is exactly what we want our children to gain too. That is the end goal of our homeschooling, is that our children would gain a heart of wisdom. And so numbering our days, ordering our days is helpful to give us that heart of wisdom so that our days are productive, that they are honoring to God, and that they are successful and moving in the right direction, and not just trying to get through a day with no plan. And that is almost a sure sign of failure. And so what we want to do is just prayerfully go over all of our ideas, our curriculum, and put it into a plan, and ask for the Lord's help. And He does. He gives you wisdom for that. So again, Malia said this, when it comes to homeschool organization, the best tool I have in my teacher's toolbox is a written plan for each child and me. Before you envision something huge and complicated, know that I am referring to a simple daily plan that each child can follow. This has been the best thing I've ever done for my homeschool. With several children to orchestrate each day, letting children hold the plans and learn to follow them has been most beneficial. And then she gives what it looks like for each age of children that she has. She picked 4 of the kids to say how they followed their schedule. And so here we have at age 3, one of her children had just had a simple morning list, 1 page total, with pictures for each of his little morning chores. So like brushing his teeth, making his bed, eating his breakfast. So even at the early age of 3, he could check off his little chore chart. At age 8, one of her children had a detailed list with all of his chores and all of his school assignments. At age 13, her 13-year-old, she had a list of textbooks for the year, reading books and textbooks for the year that she expected her daughter to complete. And then from that, a list of daily, weekly, and occasional chores. And so her older child, she had make her own list to accomplish what needed to be done. So she put her in charge of her own time. And so it kind of teaches those older kids how to plan their days properly, based on deadlines for certain classes and other things that would help them not only plan their days, but learn how to set goals and reach goals at these teenage ages. And so others, some older kids also, she had lists of what was expected each day from those older kids. And also they put on those lists their own jobs that they had, whether they babysat outside of the home or they volunteered in different places or outside activities that the older ones were juggling. It helped keep her, one of her older ones, accountable by having those lists, and just help them to plan their days in a way that would be successful and not chaotic. So, at the beginning of each day, Malia said she would refer the children to their lists And if they see one of their kids obviously doing something not on the plan at the moment, she could, hey, send them back to their list. Say, look, go to your list, check your list, what's next? And that would be so helpful for everyone to stay on track. So that is what Malia said. There was several, she has a lot more to say in that article. Again, that was the July 14th, not July 14th, July, wow, that was the January 2014 issue of the Organized Homeschooler by Malia Russell. And now looking at another article that I had pulled up, this lady, this is in the July issue, July 2012 issue. Beverly Dillow explained how notebooks kept her homeschooling organized. And so for each of her subjects, she had different colored notebooks for the kids, and they were, those, they were plastic, colorful, 3-ring binders that were flexible, and each subject she had for each child in there. And she said having those notebooks was helpful for knowing, she said, for knowing where I'm going and where I have been, and it's what keeps me moving each moment of the day. And she said, if I didn't have goals set for our family as well as myself, I felt that I would lose my vision and possibly give up. And, sometimes that is what causes us to want to give up, is just unorganized days and chaos. And so the chaos of things can cause us to lose our vision for why we're doing what we're doing. And so it's super important for many of us to just sit down, create a schedule, something easy and flexible, and something that works for you. For this mom, notebooks worked for her. She said notebooks came in every size and color, and that she used her computer to print out sheets that the kids could track things on, and put those in each of their notebooks. And it helped her keep track of what they were learning. Like, she would put in that notebook the goals of the textbook that she was using, or the program that she was using, or the workbook, whatever it was she was using for the subject, she could put in there. She could type out and print out and put in the notebook in the front, what on a cover page, like what year and grade level and what this was for, and what the goal of this course was. And so it just really helped her to use these different colorful notebooks. And so here we had Malia using a daily checklist. We have Beverly using homeschooling notebooks. There's so many ways to keep track of our schooling and to simplify that schedule. We can do a lot online. There's a lot of record keeping online options. I know that if you are a Schoolhouse Teachers member, schoolhouseteachers.com, you have access to the Apple Core record keeping system. It comes with your subscription. And so some people take advantage of that and use that as their scheduling and record keeping for their schooling. Another mom in our July 2012 issue did a template that was for planning. She created a template on her computer to help her plan her days, and mine is similar to hers. The way I set mine up is similar to the way she has set hers up. One difference, I think, in both of our schedules is that she has Monday through Friday and all the core school subjects, and that is her template, and that worked for her family very well. And she could put her children's subjects on. So each child obviously gets their own checklist because the subjects for each child are going to be different. But on the left-hand side in the rows, it would be she has Bible, reading, math, language arts, spelling, cursive or typing, science, and social studies, and it goes on to other things. But she had that listed on the left-hand side, and then Monday through Friday on the right-hand side, and the kids would check off those things as they went. Mine was similar, except that for mine was more of a, I want to say, whole life checklist, where each of the chores that I wanted my children to do were also on this schoolwork checklist, so that they knew which chores they were responsible for each day. And it really helped our family organization and caretaking of the home and all of that by having it written down. And yes, those chores changed for each child and based on their age. And but for the most part, they kept the same chores because the checklist worked so well that we only changed up those chores when we changed up the checklist, say, every quarter or every semester, or whenever we needed to change it based on curriculum changes or schedule changes. And so, so for my checklist, I added the chores in. So what Jennifer Paget has to say about her template, she called it the planning template of peace. And that is so true, that peace comes when we have a plan. When there's no plan, then chaos reigns. And so we learn early on, especially those of us with many, many kids, we have to have some sort of backbone or spine of a plan, but we remain completely flexible because we know life happens and those schedules just get put by the wayside for a moment, maybe a day or two, even, a couple hours, sometimes a couple days. And so, but we can always pick back up on the plan, and that is a beautiful thing. So what Jennifer had to say, I just wanted to read a little bit of her article. She said, "It's funny, I've been teaching for 18 years in the public sector and believe it or not, teachers in this realm of education need both their multiple cups of coffee as well as their lesson plans too. Do all classroom teachers have plan books with detailed plans for the week, month, or even year?" She said no, just like many of us who are in home classrooms, sometimes they would fly by the seat of their pants from time to time. And she said, in fact, some of her best lessons taught in the classroom were her spontaneous ones. Yet she always had tentative plans to fall back on. And I think that's where I sort of was the same. Like there were days where I was ready to just do something spontaneous, and we could plan that in, I could see what they had already done on their checklist, and half the day they got most of their subjects done. So, hey, we have time we're gonna go to the park. Oh, okay, you guys still all have your reading left, your personal reading left to do. Well, you can do that tonight after dinner. Okay, so right now we're gonna just ditch the schedule. We're gonna go to the park. But the next day, we'd get back on schedule. If the weather was beautiful, maybe we would ditch the schedule. So we have to be able to be flexible, but also have something to fall back on. And so sometimes, let's see, I'm scrolling through Jennifer's article here to see what else she was saying. That it just trained her children really well to pull out, what they needed to do, read over their assignments for the day, plan his day. She said one of her sons, it brought value to him because he was able to see the entire week of assignments that were laid out so that he could plan his sports and music around that. And her other son just loved crossing off each subject once they were done. It gave him a sense of accomplishment and, raised his self-esteem, and it gave her daughter the ability to view all of her assignments and work ahead of time. And she could work ahead of time if she wanted to. She just, could just start crossing off more than just the days work and could work ahead if she wanted. So this helped them a lot in their homeschooling to have this kind of a checklist and template that she printed off every week. And so I felt the same. My kids, they didn't have to continually ask what assignment they had to do next. And they could see accomplishment happening, as it happened. And it also taught them to be more organized with their day, so as they grew and as they became young adults and they moved on to college or career, they definitely still keep track of their days and they have good time management skills because they learned it from early on. And so they now, it's time management is not difficult for them as it could have been had we just lived in chaos and not taken a good control of our time and plan out our days. And so there are certainly going to be days when all the things don't line up and don't happen in order as they should. Maybe they feel very unproductive because of just interruptions or chaos that happened, life happenings, illnesses, all of those things that can come into our homeschool. And so we always are going to be striving for the Lord's peace in all that we do. His peace will reign as we seek him first. He says in Isaiah 26:3, the mind that is stayed on him, he brings peace to to us whose minds are stayed on him. I think it's in James 3, it says the wisdom that comes from heaven is pure and then peace loving, and then considerate and submissive and full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere, and peacemakers who sow peace reap a harvest of righteousness. And so really record keeping, record making, planning, some simple schedules, notebooks, all the things are a way to make peace in your home with your time and your schedule. And when we sow that peaceful schedule, that peaceful day, then we reap a harvest of righteousness and right living. So it's a godly principle, and God works out things in an organizational way. He's very orderly. And so we can pray and ask the Lord to give us that kind of structure that would fit our lifestyle. So you can still be a relaxed homeschooler, an unschooler. You can still have all of the philosophies that you choose, Charlotte Mason or classical, whichever. Maybe you're just a unit study or note booking or lap booking kind of mom. Whatever works in your family lifestyle, if you just having a little bit of an organizational structure, a simple one that doesn't need to be constantly redone. So what I mean by that is, like, on my schedule, if I put math in the math areas where they checked off the daily checklist, I did not put the lesson number or the page number because I knew life would interrupt many of those things. And so we just moved on. Like, whatever you did yesterday or 2 days ago, you're going to just pick right up and go from there today. And just check it off when you're done, so that it was a simple schedule, but it was a schedule. And so it did not need to be tweaked all the time because there was nothing specific as far as page numbers and assignments. And that was just the way I did it, and that helped me in my homeschooling. Some moms can put all of those detailed page numbers and assignments and things on their schedules, and it really works for their family, but really you need to figure out what works for you. It may take several different kinds of schedules for you to finally come upon one that really resonates with your whole family and works really well. The simpler we keep it, the more likely we are to follow it. And so mine would look like this. A daily schedule might look like this. A morning chore that was listed. So each child had their own checklist and each child had a morning chore. There was a morning chore listed, then there was Bible, math, and language arts. And after Bible, math, and language arts was a lunchtime. And then there was children who were assigned to make it, children who were assigned to clean it up. And then we went on to the next subjects. And then after lunch, it was something like science and history and music lessons or typing or copy work, whatever it was I needed that child to be doing was on the after lunch schedule. And they just checked it off as they went along. So on Monday, they checked off when they finished their chore, their morning chore, their Bible, their math, and their language arts. And then they knew that lunchtime was coming. If they got those done well before lunchtime, they had free time. And then there was lunchtime. And then they did or they could work ahead and do their science and history and whatever else was on their list. And if they got those done quickly also and did them well and checked those off, then they had more free time and playtime. And then they would have an afternoon chore. And then they would have maybe dinner prep or dinner help with mom, and mom would have one of them in the kitchen with her as their part of their checklist. And so very simple. If we didn't get to things for a certain day because we had doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, we had an outside co-op day, I would also put those things, if I knew it was for a whole year, we were going to have co-op on Wednesday, then on their checklist for Wednesday, we had co-op taken up for most of that morning or afternoon. And so we knew that we're not going to get to some of those other things. And that's okay. We were in co-op and we were learning and we were going forward with a vision of home education and home learning and home discipleship and doing what God has called us to do and just training these children up for His glory in a way of excellence, in a way that is not full of chaos, but is peaceful. And peace comes again through a vision and a plan. You can have peace. And that is exactly what we are hoping for our homeschooling, so that we're not going to lose motivation or vision because we're so overwhelmed with things that are not getting done. But with a simple schedule that's very flexible, you can always come back to it when things interrupt you. There's always something to come back to, and the kids can always feel a sense of accomplishment as they check something off and move on in their day. And so the Lord, I pray for the Lord's peace on you and your homeschooling, that you would be full of wisdom that He gives liberally if we just ask, and wisdom for each child. And that we would set that example for our children, how to be prepared, not just for school, but for life in general, and how to order our days, how to be productive and not unproductive, how to live at peace. So just again, I wanted to say that today's sponsor of this episode is Family Moments, the best family devotional on the internet. Their weekly YouTube videos showcase really cool object lessons to teach the truth about what matters most. Check out familymomentsfun.com. And just a side note, I have checked them out and used some of those object lessons with my kids, but also in my Sunday school class. So it's really cool. Familymomentsfun.com. Check those out. Before we sign off, I just wanted to tell you that we have some upcoming episodes that talk about the benefits of test taking in high school, We have methods, styles, and philosophies coming up. And we also have spellers and non-spellers, how to teach both of those. And that's going to be an interesting one that I actually am going to be recording sometime soon. So God bless you as you strive for the Lord's peace in every aspect in your life. And let me pray for you. Father God, thank you for these families who have taken back the education of their children, the discipleship, that they have been obedient to do according to your word, to disciple their children in your ways and in your thoughts and in your deeds. And Lord, help us to remind our children of who you are and what you have done, and that the future generations would know you. And Father, give us peace as we order our days. Lord, show us your wisdom. We ask for your wisdom in how to raise your children for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen.